Alright, so this is tutorial number 19. It's going to be a choose your own adventure game. We're starting a brand new project. We're not connecting to the last ones we did with the shooting game. So yeah, it's been a couple months, and I thought it would be a good time to the main new thing, other than this being a separate type of game, which is great. We're going to learn that. The other main thing with this tutorial is multi-class development. And again, that's like another huge step forward to making real games, is the ability to have multiple classes that you wrote yourself and connect them together so you're separating functionality. The same way I keep preaching that in to keep functions small and to just to separate things, to make it easier to find problems, to troubleshoot, and to be neat as well, and to make things more portable as you move from project to project. You can copy code. So choose your own adventure game. So what we've got zero code in the timeline. There's actually literally nothing here. This layer, there's nothing. The only thing we have is our normal connection to our document class called main.as, that Actionscript file. It's our document class. But again, we're going to actually have two classes in this tutorial for the first time. And the second one is called gameplay screen, which I thought it would be good to separate. This is the actual game, the functionality of it, into a separate class. And especially if you wanted to add more and more menus or more and more different mini games or different functionality, you really want to separate it as best you can. So let's level up our knowledge as programmers, and let's make a multi-class project. Multiple objects, object-oriented programming. So here we go. Well, actually, before we can get started with the code, I need to briefly go over the library assets. So what we've got here is some buttons, typical stuff. These two are going to be used to select your choices in the Choose Your Own Adventure. And then there's just two more buttons, a start button and a play again button. It's really just a reload after the game's been beaten or you lose. You'll notice actually that these two are movie clips, whereas these two are button objects. I'm using these movie clips as buttons, and it's just kind of a preference thing to keep them as a movie clip in case I want to later add functionality, like say an animation. Buttons can have timelines, and there's also some other functionality that movie clips have over buttons. So sometimes I like to use them that way, but it's just important to note that you can see that it's not a button, it's just a single frame movie clip, whereas these two are actual buttons with over, down, and hit states. So you'll need to make these four buttons. Again, there's no code. These things just have a stop command, these arrows, but there's really no code needed for any of the buttons, so you can make any visual buttons you want, or you can use my source files. That's the buttons. The other two main elements we have in our library, I'll get to the choices last. Our two screens, our start screen, which has no timeline code. It's just like my other tutorials, it's just a solid background with some text and a button. So the only code within it is the instance name for this button, which you'll have to reference. This starts the game and also restarts it once we get back here after beating it or losing. So that's the only code within the start screen. It's really simple. The other screen object is our gameplay screen. And before I explain what this is, you'll note, don't get thrown off by, we're talking about multi-class development and we're linking to different library objects here. this is literally just a gray square. It's a gray square. That's it. And it's being exported just like all our other stuff as gameplay screen. That's its class name. It's a custom class that I created. Gameplay screen, you can see there. So, but this is going to contain all our game is within here. Our document class, all our document class really does is load our start screen and then get us to the gameplay screen. So it's the parent that adds the child being these two screens. But mainly this one that will contain all the other logic. The whole game will be in this subclass. And it's very important because as your games get bigger, you're going to have a class for the hero. You're going to have a class, maybe multiple classes for the enemies. You're going to have classes for your, game over screen, your win screen, your score screen, your level up screen, whatever. You're going to have different objects that you're going to want to separate into their own classes. Because if you don't, not only are you going to have 10,000 lines of code, which will be completely unmanageable, but you can then reuse that code, at least 90% of it or more, in your next game because you've already built a game over screen, you've already built a score screen. You just add different art to it, and you have the code already done for you. So it's really valuable. So anyway, let's get started after my opening rant here. We're already a couple minutes in. So first thing we need to do is just load the start screen, which as you saw is just a background and a button. So in my main class here, my document class, I just created a couple of global variables for the start screen and the gameplay screen, and this current screen movie clip holder that you've seen me use in the past. It's really not useful in this. I'm just doing it out of habit to get in the habit of doing it. So first we actually need to just add a listener to our start button that is located inside the start screen that I showed you earlier. So it's going to be, it's going to load the game basically, indirectly. So we're going to call this let's just keep it literal. Start button clicked, I think is what I called it. I've got my cheat sheets here, as usual. So we're going to add the start screen and we're going to set up that listener at the same time. So when our document class is called, when it starts, we're going to do all this. So we're adding the start screen. This is a function we're going to write, which does what it said, and we're adding the listener to that button that's inside of the start screen. Remember, that's from the library there. So now, public function add start screen. Whoops. The typos. All right, so we're going to add this start screen. And all we're really doing here is kind of positioning it and adding it to the screen. So my same old formula I like to use. To position our start screen by finding the middle of the screen, thereby making it more future-proof if you change things. Now that we've positioned it, we can add it to the screen, which we haven't done above. Remember, we just created the object, which is a movie clip. We didn't add to the screen, we just created it. And lastly, I'm just going to set it to the current screen, in case we had a bunch and we just wanted to know which one was currently up, so we could then remove it, add it, etc. And I believe that's it. So that's it for that function. So when our document class loads, we add this listener to the start screen, which we will obviously need as soon as the screen is loaded for the player to click the start button. And then we add the screen itself. Get rid of the extra space. So let's check what we got so far. Oh, what did I do? Oh my god. I forgot to put that in. That's what those errors were, and the start button clicked function does not exist yet. So you can't have a listener if you don't have a handler. Where you listen, you must handle. Keep that in mind. You gotta have them both have to go together. Oh, so whoops. So this doesn't. This will give me an error once it's called, because you should know why at this point. Argument count mismatch on start button clicked. Expected 0 and got 1. Well, it's expecting 0. I'm sending it a mouse event. I'm passing it into it, but yet I wasn't expecting it. As you know from the past, I won't go into that any further, but when you see that error, you forgot to write what type of object is being passed into this function, if any. So we've got that. So we've loaded our start screen. Our button's working, you can see that. So that's it so far. It's that simple. This is not going to do anything yet because I haven't told it what to do inside of this function. We're obviously going to be loading our gameplay screen when you click this button. So now we have to do that. So when the start button is clicked, we're going to remove the child. In other words, a child of the parent. Add child, remove child. The parent being the document class in this case. So we're going to move. We don't need the start screen because we're going to the gameplay screen. So let's remove it, and then let's start the game. Now you won't see it being removed because how fast this is, executed. It'll just go to the gameplay screen. So we have this new function, start game, which is going to load up and position our gameplay screen. So it's kind of similar to this here. So I might as well copy these 3 lines, save a little time so we don't have an hour and whatever minute tutorial like some of mine tend to go. I'm really trying to avoid 8-hour plus tutorial. I'm not very good at that though. So positioning it and just changing the name to what it should be. So we're positioning it and adding it to the screen. We've got to add all the visual elements separately, since remember, this gameplay screen is literally a gray box and nothing else. It does not have our arrow buttons and all of our pictures, which I forgot to go into. So I will very quickly explain what's in this once we get it loaded up. Let's try to be good about this here and load it up first. So let's go ahead and test our start button. So it's loaded our gameplay screen, as you can see. There's that beautiful gray box. There it is. So now we need to actually add the UI elements. So once we add that to the screen, do that, and there we go, the gameplay screen. So there's actually a trick I'm doing here to separate the functionality. Instead of putting it all in the document class and sort of to show you the point of why we're separating things, we're going to add everything to the gameplay screen, and we're going to handle everything going forward until you have to reload. It's all going to be handled within your second class. And again, ignore these two tabs. These are the done tutorial that I'm just referencing. So this is our second class, our gameplay screen, our gray box right now. Within it, I've just kind of set up the structure of everything, which is good as you get into larger projects. These are all functions I know I'm going to need. They're all empty, and this just kind of lays out where I need to go and where I'm going to end up at the end. So let's start from the top here. So we have, since it's a choose your own adventure, we're going to have two choices on screen at all times until you hit an ending. So we need our two choices. So now I have two variables of the same object, the choices object, which is in our library, and that's what I forgot to show you earlier, that I'm going to show you now. This you can create yourself, or you can use my source files from the link there in the description. So this is a four track here movie clip. It's set to export as choices, as you saw in the file there. And what it is I think it's 10 pictures. Yeah. It's 10 different pictures that make up pictures and text that go together, obviously. My wife, Deborah, was kind enough to, the other half of Big Toe, as you know from previous tutorials, was kind enough to give us all these images that she created. She just created it kind of for fun, very, very quickly. She can do some really great art, so this was just kind of a really fast sketch for fun. Just to give you an idea, so to choose your own adventure, these are all your different choices. You're going to be seeing two of these at a time most often, but it's all kind of laid out so all it is you have four layers. Actions layer, which is only stop commands. That's all it is. The only code in here is stop commands on each one of these. And then there's a frame label. And this is important because this is how we're going to reference where we are and to tell our movie clip, our choices, our gameplay elements, to tell them where to go based on where we were and where we need to go. We're going to use the frame labels. There's a command called current frame label that a movie clip has. We're going to use that. So that's this layer. Go to the forest, go to the desert, and you'll see these will make sense as you see the choices. So when you first load up the game, you're going to see these two. Do you go into the forest or do you go into the desert? You're going to see them side by side together, which is why we have two versions of this movie clip. So this will make sense as we go along. But that's all it is a series of pictures with an associated frame label that we will refer to it. And that's right here. And it's just a string. You can type it in whatever you want. It's a string. So now that I've showed you what that choices movie clip is, we can use it. So you see I created two copies of it, the left and the right choice. And we've created our variables, our global variables for our arrows, which I showed you before. I'm not going to show you again. And that restart button, which is later, this, for when you get to an ending. So those are all the variables I've created in our secondary class here that's connected and loaded by our document class, remember. Just like our document class, it's set up the same way because it's a movie clip also. So you're going to see that same format. Now, I've done this little trick that's good to do, especially when you have a secondary class, it makes more sense. I've added in the constructor function, remember the function that's constructor function has the same name as the class, and it's run immediately when the object is created. That's why it's called the constructor function. So inside the constructor function, I have a added to stage listener. This is a certain type of event that is listening for when our object was added to the stage in its parent. So basically, when an add child command is given in a parent, that's when it was added, right? That's when you can visually see something, it's added to the stage, it's added to the parent. The child is added to the parent. So that happens right here where we last left off. We're starting the game, we positioned it, and we're adding it in. So that's a cue for this to continue on. So it's just a way of separating the functionality, which is always good, and it's also a way to test that you can then make reference to your parent, to the stage, because you've now been added in. I couldn't reference other things if the object wasn't inside of the project yet, if that makes sense. It's like saying, okay, I'm ready. Now let's start it up. So all I need in this function, I believe, is the add choices. Which is going to do everything for adding all of our visual elements and getting us started. So this calls the add choices function. And the add choices function, first off, positions all the visual elements, the arrows, and the starting choices of the game. So I'm going to copy this because, again, this is just trial and error positioning. I'm actually going to copy all of this except the last 2 lines of it because this is all stuff you know how to do. And I don't need to waste time on. It's just taking all the stuff I made here and positioning it, and then adding it to the screen once it's positioned. The 2 choices and the arrows to pick. That's it. So these last 2 lines, which I won't copy, I'll type, are the starting. Let's actually see what this does now, just for. There we go. You started your game, and you've got 2 of the same choices. You want to go to the forest or the forest? This is a really fun game, right? You have lots of freedom here. So I'm going to now switch this to the desert for our other choice, which is what these last 2 lines are. So remember, we have a copy of our choice movie clip with all the visuals and text. So choice number 1, this is where the frame labels come into it. I'm going to tell it to go to and stop, which is where it already was because that's the first frame in this case. Go to and stop the go to forest frame. Now let me just type this other one so you see what they both are called, and then I'll go to the movie clip and show you. This one is, and you can write these and make them whatever you want for your own memory and organization. Choice 1, the left one, go to the forest. Go forest is the name of the frame. Go there and stop. Choice 2, the right one, go to and stop. Go desert. Now these are frame labels that I just made inside the choices movie clip. You see right here, go desert. It's actually the first frame, which is why you were seeing it on both. On frame 10, remember that this timeline's not playing at all. I have stop commands in just in case. Nothing's playing, it's all single frames. But on frame 10, our next picture and text go into the desert. This is your right choice, 2 starting choices in the Choose Your Own Adventure game. So these are 2 choices. So now you're going to see that different picture. Whoops. there you go. These two awesome pieces of art by Deborah Says, deborahsays.com. And you've got your two buttons here. Now I haven't added I'm clicking now. I haven't added the functionality to our buttons, which we're going to do next. But this is the start of your choices. So now that's what these two functions are. So again, I've gone ahead and created the structure so I know where I'm going, and just so I don't forget to do things, although you always will. So we have two separate functions. Now you could organize this differently if this were a larger game with a lot more choices. You would want to definitely make arrays. Oh, I put this, typo there. You want to make arrays and store all your different pictures and text a little more organized, in an organized way. But for this size project, and just to show you the basic logic and to show you multi-class development was the 2 points of this whole tutorial. I'm going to do it a little more simply and not make arrays and all that complicated organization structure. So you've got your two different functions, and depending on which arrow the person clicks, it sends them to either the left choice clicked or right choice clicked function. Actually, I need to add those. I didn't add those listeners yet. My computer's lagging here. There we go. I'm gonna copy these because you know what these are. These are just the click listeners for our two arrows. Left choice clicked, right choice clicked. Listener, handler. Remember how that always goes together. Any listener has to have a handler to do something when that listener has detected what it was listening for. In this case, a mouse click. So if you click on the left arrow or you click on the right arrow, we're going to need to know what to do. First of all, based on which arrow you clicked and what's the current phase of the game you're in. So remember this left one is always going to be dealing with the choice object, and the right is going to be dealing with choice 2. Two copies of the same movie clip. You can call them left and right if you wanted to, but I'll just stick it like this. So if the choice, now here's a property of the movie clip class that we're going to be using. Current frame label. You can see it goes blue to signify it's a built-in property of the Flash language, Actionscript. So if the current frame label equals go forest, as it will in the beginning on the left option, we're going to go somewhere based on that. And I'm just going to set up the next bracket. And here's the same thing, except obviously 2 quick changes here. Come on, computer. Go desert, and this will be choice 2 because this is the right option, the right side of the choices. So now we're just saying, all this is saying is look at the choice movie clip, look at our object, and read its current frame label of where it's positioned right now when that button's clicked. So our starting positions are go forest and go desert on each of the 2 choices, 2 movie clips. So if we're there, we're going to then send them to our next group of choices based on what they clicked. So we're going to say choice, now for the left one, go to and stop. We want to put the left one to the fight bear is the name of it. I'll let you see what's going on here. We're in the forest, right? So there's got to be a bear. Go to and stop fight bear. Choice 2. Go to and stop. Defend is the name of that one. You can do whatever you want. I'm just doing it this way because it makes it easy for me to remember. Oh, I have a missing bracket somewhere. Else if where's my typo here? Sorry, I've got an extra. Oh, duh. Here, let me get rid of that. There we go. Sorry about that. So our two starting choices here. So, come on, damn it. All right, go into the forest or go to the desert. We haven't set up the desert one yet. So, if you click that, it gives you your two options. So these are your next two options. Do you want to fight the bear with your bare hands, pun intended, or defend yourself with a large stick sitting in a conveniently placed fire? Well, you can probably guess which is the better choice here, but you have an option. So we've now gotten to our second screen. I'm just going to load that again before we move on further. We got our start screen. Choose your fate. Load the game. Your two opening choices. Forest, desert. What's it going to be? I'm going to the forest. Do I want to fight the bear? Or are you going to defend yourself? So now you have two choices. You can't go any further yet because we haven't told you where it's possible to go. So let's do this forest one and then we'll get to the desert one after. So now we've added our next two. So now we need a second if statement to then else if current frame label equals, now we're dealing with the left choice again. So remember the one on the left now was the fight bear one. So you choose to fight the bear with your bare hands. So in that case, we're going to send the person to, I believe it's the bear wins. I'm spoiling the story here. Spoiler alert. The person does not beat the bear. We want to go to that one. And we actually, because that's an ending now, we have this separate function, which you'll see I already made the opening brackets there for it. Go to ending. That's one of the lose options. And we're going to pass in a parameter to it. I'm going to really quickly digress into this. I'm going to keep it to 30 seconds, hopefully, because we haven't done this yet. We're passing in a parameter to a function you're doing it when you create these listeners and handlers for mouse events, but you probably don't realize you're doing it. This is kind of the built-in functions of Flash. Since this is our own function, our go-to ending, it's not like a pre-built one. We're going to pass in, get out of my way here. We're going to pass in a string, in this case, a parameter to tell us, and all this is doing, this is for positioning, it's just telling us, are we dealing with the left choice that got them to an ending or the right choice? And we need to do that mainly because I just want to position it and know which one to remove, depending on, depending on which one you picked, you have to remove the other one, obviously. So you don't just have this random piece of text on the screen that doesn't make any sense. So this is the left choice. We're still in the left options here. So we're going to go to the ending, and we're passing in a string. In this case, left, or it could be right. So I'm going to call this side. This is you're creating. This is the type of object you're passing in on the right side of the bracket, and this is just what you're going to call it. And remember, this is local because it's inside of a function. I can only reference this in here. I can't go up here and write side blah blah blah, because this side variable, which is a string, only exists within this function. It's local versus global, like these up here, which are not inside of a function. So I'm gonna get to that. Well, I guess I should do it now because it closes it out. Go to ending. Just trying to remember. I have to remove the UI and position the elements here. I'm actually just going to copy this function because it's nothing new for you guys and girls. We're going to an ending, so we're going to remove the arrows from the screen. We don't need those. And here's where we decide, was it the left side that got us to an ending, or was it the right side? If it was the left, in our case up here, we're going to take the left one, the left choice, the text in the picture, and we're just going to center it, and we're going to remove the second one since we don't need the right option. If it was the right one, we're going to do the same thing. Center it and remove the left one. And then all we're going to do is add our restart button to the screen. And remember, that was a variable created in the beginning. I created it before I started the tutorial, but you have to give them an option to play again. So let's see that. So we're going to the forest for now. We're going to fight the bear with our bare hands. Wise choice. Oh, come on. What do you mean I lose? The bear mauls you. What did you think would happen? It's pretty obvious, right? You're not going to win that fight. So you see that we've centered it, we've removed the other one, and we've added this restart button to play again, to restart the game over. We didn't add the functionality again, because this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to save that for last because we're going to be talking to our document class again. And again, that's the point of this tutorial, other than showing you a new type of game, multi-class development. So we're going to touch on that last. So I'm going to close this out. So let's do the other side of the story, and let me show it to you in a more storytelling fashion, like I should have done in the beginning anyway. So you can go to the desert. If you went to the desert, you would either A, pick up lamp, or keep going. So those are going to be your two options. So let's present these to you. The right choice So we're going to now choice, go to and stop. Remember, these are our two frame labels now. Pick up lamp is the left choice. The right choice is called keep going. You can see I'm referencing these here. I just know what order they're in the movie clip. So those are our two next choices. So let's show you that part. We don't want to go to the forest. We've been there already. Been there, done that. Go to the desert. Now, should you pick up the genie lamp and wish for a meal, I suggest shepherd's pie, which is awesome if you haven't had it before. Or the right choice, ignore the obviously better choice and continue walking past the genie lamp in hopes of finding something better. Really? So those are your two choices. I'll leave it up to you to think about which one you want to do. Although I'm running the tutorial, so I'm really going to decide. It's kind of an illusion of freedom. Alright. We now have our next branching path, so now we're going to need to create another if statement. In both of these functions, keep in mind, just like I did here, even though we're dealing with the left and right side, it's not necessarily contained to one function, remember, because the separation is by the arrows. It's by the side of the screen, not necessarily by the branching path, which you could create. It would just be a lot more work. So we're now in the desert side. These are our two choices. We're going to need to add, I'll go to the left first. So we're going to need to add another one down here that says, else if the current frame label now, again, would be this one here. Remember, choice is the left, choice 2 is the right. So it's the pickup lamp. So if it's, I'll just copy it so you can see that it's the same. If the current frame label is pickup lamp, so it's just, as you can see, we're just taking one simple property of the movie clip class that again comes built into any class that you make. If you make it a movie clip, you're inheriting all the properties. Well, I got a little stutter here in my tutorial here, a current. There we go. Now it's correct. So if the current frame label is pickup lamp, that was the left choice. I'm just going to go back again to try to connect it all. Remember, you had these two choices. Pick up the lamp, get a meal, be happy, or don't. Why would you do this? Or my phone ringing in the background. So we're dealing with the left side. So if the current frame label is pickup lamp, meaning if you clicked the option, the smart option, to pick up the genie lamp, you will then be taken to another ending. The good ending, not the game over ending like the last one I showed you. So now you're going to be taken to the Win Desert option, I believe. I'm kind of showing you this all in backwards order. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm not here to tell the story. I'm here to show you the program. So go to and stop. Go to and stop. Oh no, I don't need this because you've won. So again, we're going to go to the ending because you've reached an ending. And again, this is on the left side. And we've now told it where to go, told it what to do. Go to the desert, That's tempting, but I'm gonna pick up the genie lamp. You made it to the end of the desert and arrive at a village that instantly makes you a king or queen, depending on who's watching, for no apparent reason. Good job. I know you're really impressed with my storytelling here, so just take a minute and soak it all in, and then let's move on. So, choice 2, the current frame label, go desert. So now we're going to deal with the right side if you pick the other option, the ignore the genie lamp and keep going looking for something better option. So, else if, same pattern you can see, current frame label equals keep going. This is now another ending, the bad ending. Choice 2, we don't need choice 1 because it's an ending. We're going to be getting rid of that. Choice 2, go to and stop. You die. This one's a little dark. I couldn't think of what to do on that. I'm not going to lie there. It got a little dark pretty quick. It's got to be a capital. Go to ending. And now, instead of passing in left, we're passing in right. Because this is the right choice in this case, was the bad one. So, it's the same thing. Go to the desert. I'm gonna pick this one. You walk for days and don't find anything better. You eventually die of dehydration. I told you it was dark. I couldn't think of anything better. So you can see our character has the X's over his eyes, and he is pretty thirsty. Okay. That's that one. And I did not show you the other side of the forest ending, so we got to go ahead and add that one in. It's a little sloppy the way I went through this, I'm not going to lie. So, I need to add this in here. So had you... I have to do the keep going one, right? No, the defend one, yeah. So, if the right choice is on the right side, remember, I'm just going to go back so you can see. Oh, yes, I know, I put this here. I'll fill it in and then show you. Flash is nannying me. Okay. This one was called defend. Before I finish that, whoops. Before I finish that, go into the forest, fight the bear with bare hands, defend yourself with large stick sitting in a conveniently placed fire. So, alright, I haven't told us where to go yet. But this is the option that we're going to pick. Seems a little more logical. That bear is not amused. Notice, he's not amused by the fact that you're trying to push him with your bare hands. So you're going to defend by waving that stick with the fire on the end in front of him. So now you defend, we want to go to the, I lost my thing here, the win forest option, since that is the correct choice. Choice 2, go to and stop, win forest, and this is an ending, a good ending, but it's on the right side again. So we're going to go, it's the right choice, so we're going to go to the ending, we're going to pass in the right. And this one, and there you go. The bear slowly backs away in fear. He goes to sleep, since he was never really afraid of you, let's be honest. You continue into the forest where you find an abandoned palace with everything you'll ever need. Good job. And that's it. We haven't done this yet. So those are the two storylines. You got your two choices. You do what I just did, or you can do that. You can go to the desert. Yeah, I'll take the meal. And you won. So you can see where this is going. So now what we need to do is to close it all out, is to deal with the game overs and the endings, and to reload the game. Which are two connected things, really. So this send to reload function that I've set up is, as you can see, a mouse event. So this is what this function is called when you hit that play again button that we've already added to the screen. It's called restart button in the code. Sorry, but it's that same button you've been seeing. This says play again on the button. I don't want to change that because then I have to change each frame label. It's going to take forever. So this play again button is our restart button to reload the game. So we've added that to the screen whenever we go to an ending, as you saw. So now we need to just tell it what to do. So I'm just going to reference this. I know I have to remove the button and reload the game. So I'm going to type this in just so I can explain it. But let's first, let's remove our child, the restart button. That doesn't need to be on the screen anymore. Although I believe we can just reload game. Yeah, actually I don't need to separate that. I don't think. Let's see. I'm going to try to make it even simpler than what I originally. We can keep it at one command. So I'm going to type this and you'll see what I do. So the function name is reload game, right? Reload game. I'm going to write this function. So here's what this function is going to be called. Before I explain what this is what's going to happen when you reach a game over or an ending, as you saw earlier. So this is, did we make our mouse event? No, we didn't. We're going to have to do that. Our play again button needs to be listening for this function when a game over happens. So let's just put that in, or else we won't get anywhere to begin with. The name of that function was send to reload. Send to reload. Now this is what's called when the play again button is hit. So this simple one-line function doesn't get any better than that. What this is saying is this is where the two classes connect. Now keep in mind the gameplay screen. If you remember, we go back to our document class. We loaded up the start screen. We waited for the player to click on the start button, right? And then start button clicked, remove the start screen and start the game. Positions the gameplay screen and adds it to the screen. Boom. So we've added it from the document class. Remember, it's a part of the document class. These are not two separate things side by side. The gameplay screen is a child of the document class, and that's the way you want it to be. Everything is going to be a child of the document class. Whether it's, our start screen, our buttons, everything will. That's what makes it the document class. It's the root object on which all other things are put into. But as your projects get more complicated, you wanna have a bunch of pieces. The document class is the heart, or the brain is probably a better analogy. The brain, the body, it's the structure, and then the organs are all put in there that each connect back and get orders from the brain. So we've added our child, so now we can talk to our parent. As being the child, if you are referring to the document class, you would say movie clip parent. And the reason we can say movie clip is because our document class is always a movie clip. At least if you're dealing with Flash and using the IDE like I do. I believe your document class is always a movie clip no matter what you're doing in Actionscript. So, movie clip, parent. The parent of this object. The parent of this movie clip. This is the document class. And I believe I can also say root here if you had like multiple layers and you, instead of referring to the direct parent you wanted to refer, you can write root here. If I remember, I'll test that later. But reload game. So now let's put that function in our document class. Function game. We're going to remove child. We're going to remove the gameplay screen. Yeah, and then we're going to add the start screen back. That's right. So I took that other line out before because we don't need to manually remove the button because we're going to move the whole screen. Remove it and add the start screen back so the player can click the start button again and do it all over again. I might have forgot something, but let's see. Desert. You win. You want to play again? Boom. Oh, right, I didn't get rid of the button. That's right. I do have to get rid of that. My one-line function has become a two-line. A two-line. Remove child, restart button. The restart button does not get loaded in the beginning. That's why I have to manually get rid of it. So it's just going to appear when you restart the game. Go to the forest. I'm feeling like fighting the bear with my bare hands. The bear wins again. Let's play again and make wiser choices in life. Learn from your mistakes, people. Go into the desert this time. Oh, I don't need a genie lamp. This did not work out. But let's try again. And you can see that we're all done. It all loops back. Whether you win or lose, you get a chance to play again if you want to try the other side of the story. So this is a complete game. It's a multi-class development. It's a choose your own adventure game in very simple form. You can build on this and add 10, you know, levels of choices if you wanted to. The functions would get long and it would get a little confusing with all the names and the labels. But the structure's there. You can build on it. You can use arrays if you want, or some sort of a number system to better keep track of where to go when things are clicked. But for a small choose your own adventure, this structure works fine. And it really, that was only half the point. The other point of this whole thing was to show you make multiple classes, split up your code. Again, look at our document class now. It's so simple. It's 55 lines, and that's with the blank space. It's under 50 lines, our document class, because we've gone and delegated. We're essentially having this game manage itself. So if you had a larger project, or maybe you have multiple stories in one game, you could, instead of calling this gameplay screen, this could be story 1, story 2, and they're managing themselves, and that's always better. Our document class is 50 lines, and this class is 127, with the blank space. So it's much longer, but the important part is it's separate, and it's so much easier to work with and troubleshoot and read. So that's multi-class development. That's a choose-your-own-adventure game in basic form. And thank you again to my wife, Deborah Says, for her awesome art, as I'm sure you appreciate it. DeborahSays.com is her website if anyone needs an artist for their projects, artist or animator. Thanks for watching, and I got 2.5 months between tutorials. I did say it would be less than the last one. Last one was 4-month gap, so maybe I can get down to my goal of a 1-month gap between tutorials. That'll be the test. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Subscribe and send it to other people you think might be interested to help this grow, and I'll keep making more. Thanks.